What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and there was a conversation a couple days ago between two liberals, both Bill Maher and Seth MacFarlane. If you're unaware of who Seth MacFarlane is, he's a creator of Family Guy and many other shows and spin-offs, and Ted, the movie, which was just basically Family Guy, Peter Griffin as a teddy bear, things of that nature. Certainly, I enjoy maybe seasons like through 7 of Family Guy. It was pretty good. Definitely had some spicy jokes in the past. I've always enjoyed shows like American Dad, things like that. But as with all people who find success in Hollywood, they find that they have to get more and more and more and more to the left. They can go from a very reasonable liberal person to what is, in Bill Maher's case, somebody who can be right about things, can be wrong about things, but it certainly is in the top 10 all-time TDS sufferers, to someone like Seth MacFarlane, who has made his entire life, who has spent his entire life in hiding, afraid to get the coof. Well, they had a conversation on Bill Maher's show, and they went back and forth about the jab. And I will say this much, as I always do: none of my business what you do with your body. Not at all. You want to get it, get it. Don't get it, don't get it. That's cool. I'm not your doctor. I'm not your husband or your wife. But I think everyone knows how I feel about it. And that's really only for me, right? You do you. Comedian and HBO host Bill Maher got a new verbal sparring match with Family Guy creator Seth MacFarlane over the coof jab and mandates, arguing that the United States had failed to recognize the value of natural immunity. Now, Seth MacFarlane, of course, argues that he knew people who had gotten it more than once, therefore natural immunity was debunked. That's what his position was in the argument. Don't believe me? You can watch it for yourself. So I know people that have gotten it 3 times, and that means that natural immunity doesn't exist. Well, first of all, there are different strains, just like there's the flu. Every year there's different strains of the flu, okay? There are people who get the flu shot every year and still get the flu. Also, secondarily, as someone who did have it, I don't think 2 or 3 times, each time was far more mild. Now, I don't know if that's true for everybody, but it was for me. I would, argue that that's some level of immunity as well. Anyway, the discussion came during the latest episode of Maher's podcast, Club Random, and Maher posited that pushing the jab on everyone, even those who had already gotten it, was powerful stupid. Why are doctors wrong about so much? Maher asked. MacFarlane protested that doctors were right about a lot of things as well. Fair enough, they are. Maher pushed back. Very often, people who are not doctors have been righter about things. Maher continued, and when MacFarlane asked for example, he went straight to the handling of the coof jab in the United States. I would think this country did not allow for natural immunity to even be considered. And I know this is a subject near to your heart. Like, even if you had the disease, you still had to get the jab. That's powerful stupid. They don't do that in Europe, Maher said. MacFarlane objected, pointing to the number of people who have contracted it multiple times, arguing that there was, quote, no real natural immunity to be had. Don't you know people that have had it 4 or 5 times? That's not natural immunity. There is no immunity there. MacFarlane pushed back, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't know. Maher said probably because you had too many jabs. I don't know if that, that doesn't necessarily work. That doesn't really track, at least in my opinion. But, ultimately, he went on to argue that it was the wrong decision for the jab to be pushed on everyone. And I think that most everyone could agree with that. Look, when my dad was around and he had respiratory issues, things of that nature, I knew that if he ever got the coof, that it would probably take his life. So when he got it, I didn't have any problem with that. And I think that, like, most people in a similar situation would agree. Like, even if it, I tried to, think about it like, well, okay, even if it reduces it by 20% or 30%, whatever, all this kind of stuff, I understood why he did it. Why when moms were posting pictures of taking their toddlers to go get it, that felt a little more sinister. That felt a little more weird. It was like, sponsored by Pfizer, give it to your toddlers. Pregnant women were getting it. I didn't understand any of that. He also he wrote that Jokic didn't need it. He's a famous basketball player, and Rodgers didn't need it. Maher continued over McFarland's objections. You completely want to shut your eyes to the fact that there were repercussions to all medical interventions, including the jab, he went on to say. I mean, yeah, I think that at some point we're going to find out, probably after we're all long dead, our kids will find out, the real number of people. I've often said before, I want to see a chart, just a simple Excel spreadsheet line chart of the number of deaths related to the COOF and when the free federal $30,000 or whatever that amount stopped. I'm just curious if there's an inflection point there. I don't know. Certainly, from what I know from nurse friends and family, many people lost their lives early on because we didn't know how to handle it. I cannot confirm what I'm about to say is medical fact, but I did have an ER nurse who left her home state to go to New York to help them, said that early on, when they were putting people on ventilators, there's a reason they stopped doing that. I'll put it that way. They were putting everybody on ventilators. Oh, we need more ventilators. And it turns out, well, that had a lot of negative effects. So, a lot of it was weird panic. You shut down in the entire country, and now all you did was, in my opinion, delay moving on to something else. Now it's RSV. Now it's this and that. So it's just, they just were able to push just enough on that one to shut the country down. I think that he wrote, I wouldn't, McFarland fought back saying that, natural immunity was debunked. By the way, neither of these two individuals are doctors. The animator, Seth MacFarlane, then asked Bill Maher what the downside of getting the jab was, which caused the comedian to go into a full anti-jab tirade. The fact that you don't even have a clue what's the cost of getting it, you don't know the answer to that, you completely shut your eyes to the fact that there are repercussions to all medical interventions, including getting the jab, all jabs, he ranted. They say side effects just like every medication does. You can see it in the literature. They can't write it on the back of the syringe, so you have to dig for them. And of course, there is a court so there is in fact a jab court because so many people got injured. Maher continued, this is not a scred to say don't get jabs in general. I'm not against that. I'm against doing them ones that I don't think I need. I should be able to decide that for myself and for my body. Well, yeah, I would 100% agree with that. It's so weird that, and we've talked about this before on the channel, that so many of the hashtag my body, my choice people did not feel that way about this. They should be able to get as many smabortions as they want because my body, my choice. But I have to inject something in my body because you want to feel a little bit safer. I think that was, perhaps one of the wildest times in this country's history. Certainly the wildest time that I can ever remember. You had, Australia having freaking camps for people, Canada encouraging people to tattle on their neighbors. Endless videos of mask Karens. Remember all those? I'm worried that you don't have a mask, but I'm going to get within 6 inches of your face so I can film you and scream about you not wearing a mask. I still see people wearing masks alone in their cars right now. There will never be people that will ever, there will be people that will never, and I mean never, recover from the amount of fear propaganda that they consume during the lockdowns. I mean, CNN, let's not forget what, the mainstream media's part in all this was. CNN literally had a live death counter in the lower right hand or left hand portion of their broadcast 24 hours a day. Americans were sitting there watching the live death counter toll up. Oh my God! I better not turn the channel. I might miss the death toll number rising. It was the weirdest, most surreal time. I remember I've used this analogy number of times before, where it's like, if you listened to, I'm not, look, and again, I'm not, hey, I know people passed away from it. I know it was real. I had it and it sucked. It was the sickest I've ever been in my life. It was terrible. Okay. I'm not one of those people that don't think it, thinks it doesn't exist or any of that crap. But if you watch the news, you would have thought that if you walked out the door, that they would have been stacking the bodies like cordwood. Remember all the reports? Oh my God, they're running out of places to put the dead bodies. They're getting, cheese refrigeration trucks, and we're backing up to. I mean, it was so insane. And then you would walk outside. It was like, remember the movie 28 Days Later? In the beginning, he wakes up. By the way, probably, in my opinion, the best all-time zombie movie. I know that might be controversial. To back it off a little bit, I'll say at least top 3 all-time zombie movie. He wakes up and he walks out and like everything's like all quiet. That's how it was. Like I expected a zombie, like some sort of zombie invasion going on outside, and I would just like go outside and people were just mowing their lawn, drinking beers, playing with their kids. And I would go back in the TV and it was like, death, 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 you're all gonna die. And I'd like go back outside and I'm like, what's happening here? I don't get it. So it clearly ruined people like Seth MacFarlane. And, the people that would defend, first of all, the lockdowns are complete and utter garbage humans. The people that would defend forcing the jab on people who didn't want it are garbage humans. Other than that, you want to get it, get it. You don't want to get it, don't get it. I don't care. It's none of your business. None of my business either. But I'm not a Hollywood elitist like Seth MacFarlane either. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it, and we'll talk to you again real soon.